Hello, human. Reflective Self here with a new episode of Living Lessons, where I get to share honest insights from lived experience. Lessons that capture moments of clarity, vulnerability, and human understanding. Today's episode is all about emotional resilience, self-awareness, and knowing what helps us return to ourselves when life feels uncertain. And so here's the lesson that I've learned. Keep close what uplifts, especially on days we can't uplift ourselves. When preparing for this episode, I found myself revisiting a collection of notes I'd kept saved on my phone. All were time-stamped, given thematic titles, and named after their original authors. As I looked through them and opened each note to read it in full, I wasn't blind to the possibility that someone on the receiving end might think the whole thing was a little self-absorbed. As much as that might be true, it wasn't something I felt the need to be responsible for, because I knew why those notes existed. They weren't there to feed the ego, although one could appeal to it. The very reason for their existence came from a time in my life when the need was impossible to hide. It all started with the first note. The note that opened the door to all the others. At that time, relationship ruptures were the headline of my season. They kept me buried in doubt and pulled me into endless questions, rewrites, and attempts to make sense of what happened. And with that, finding my way back wasn't easy. Sometimes, it felt like trying to navigate with a broken compass while the downpour of tears kept blurring the map. And if I'm being honest, I don't know if I would have found my way back as boldly as I did without the support of an army. In that difficult period, I reached out to my brother with my most vulnerable and unashamed request. I told him, I need reminders, not advice, not solutions, just reminders. Loving reminders from those closest to me. Reminders of who I am. I knew I was strong, but it wouldn't be for the days when I could stand on my own 2 feet. It would be for the days when the floor was ripped out from right under me. And so my commanding general went to work. He reached out to siblings, relatives, and friends, and came back with the most beautiful collection of letters from people who knew me throughout different seasons of my life. They held memories and stories. Some of them described a version of me I had long forgotten. Some described a version of me I almost didn't recognize. And somehow, their words helped me challenge the doubt that had been keeping me hostage. That first note, which now houses all those letters, remains the only one I ever requested. Everything that came after was gifted. Some arrived as thoughtful messages that made me feel seen and loved. Some arrived as voice notes that wrapped me up in a gentle and warm hug. Some arrived unexpectedly in moments when all that needed to be known was that I mattered. And so my thought was not to let the love I received pass me by. I decided to preserve them, collect them, name them. And over time, the notes became something I could return to on the days life left me unsettled with doubt. Or perhaps when I too left myself unsettled with that very same doubt. What I've come to realize is that life behaves more like a teacher than a friend. It doesn't feel obliged to explain itself. It doesn't stop to justify its decisions. On the days that are good, and everything is a beautiful symphony, we might marvel at its wonder with gratitude and thanks, or quite possibly, none. On the days that are difficult and everything is crumbling around us, we might just throw all of our hurt and blame at it. And yet, regardless of our feelings toward it, life keeps moving. It doesn't respond. It doesn't defend. It simply continues. And in time, we will be asked to do the same. Not perfectly, not immediately, but eventually. When life leaves us worn down and with questions, we tend to find ways to help soothe the pain. Sometimes, we reach for things that support and uplift us. Other times, we reach for things that help us escape for a while. The difference becomes clearer when we pay attention to who we become afterward. Do we feel more grounded, more connected, more ourselves? Or do we feel further away? For some, that groundedness could be a walk in nature to help steady the mind. For others, it could be a morning workout that gives us the strength and confidence for the day ahead. Knowing what makes us feel held and grounded cannot always be left to chance alone. It asks that we remain attentive, present, emotive, and curious. To notice the particular ways we love to receive love, how certain words sit with us after they've been spoken, the ways the corners of our lips form a smile after a very specific moment, or what allows us to breathe a little steadier after the storm. Over time, these observations become a collection of knowings, and those knowings matter, because eventually, the storm returns. Meeting ourselves most honestly can open us up to permission. Permission to not only name our needs, but also honor them. In doing so, assuredness follows. We know what makes us sing. We know what uplifts us. We know what to return to when the skies turn gray. And so what becomes collected isn't certainty. It is evidence. The pick-me-ups when life doesn't always cooperate. Whether it's a walk or a familiar ritual, a childhood memory, a time capsule of heartfelt messages, or that iced non-fat milk, 3-pump brown sugar syrup, 4-shot shaken espresso we like to indulge when mornings start to feel a little bland. Whatever form it takes, we don't tighten our grip on them. We simply remember them. Not because they solve everything, not because we're always in need of reassurance, but because they help us reconnect. They become the compass that guides us back to ourselves until we are steady enough to walk the path again. And that is the lived lesson that I've learned. It's not a universal prescription, but it is mine. Keep what stays, release what doesn't. Until next time.